Hello, everybody, and this is Kirk TV. And this week, we are having a whole week of activities around Kirk TV and partnering with Kirk TV because it's a media station that is available in so many ways to serve you, to serve the community. And so this is the Kirk TV Partnership Week. Great opportunities, and on this program we're going to be talking about Christian media houses and what that's all about. And so you're welcome, and do engage us on WhatsApp, on SMS, on this number 01112220044, 011120044. We'll be glad to hear what you have to say. This is a great conversation about Christian media. Already the name is quite interesting, Christian media. Now we know social media, we know mainstream media, we know lots of media, but here we're talking about Christian media. And that's very interesting when you think about it. But to help us engage this, we have very able guests here, and we are happy to have with us Douglas Nyoro, who is also Dagi, right?
Yes, that's right.
Dagi, and he is coming to us from Church of the Torch. He is an elder there, but for the purposes of this program, he is in advertising. And advertising does a lot of mess to our heads, you know that? A lot of mess to our heads.
By and large, yes, it does.
A lot of mess to our heads, you know. But here you are, and you clarify for us what it is all that there is in advertising, and again, how that connects with media, and specifically today, Christian media. So welcome to this program. Happy to have you.
Thank you, Reverend. Good evening, viewers. I'm happy to be here.
All right. And like you out, I mean, you look, you've been advertising for long, and you're also advertising yourself the way you are, just dressed up. I mean, an advertiser advertises all the time, even yourself. You look nice.
This is very much to try and show like I'm not scared, but you don't know what's in me. So let's see how this goes.
That's good.
Let's see how this goes.
Yeah, so we are also happy to be with also another guest on this program, and that is Dr. Njoki Chege. Now, Dr. Njoki Chege, welcome to this program.
Thank you for having me, Reverend Furi.
And you've been in media for the longest time.
Yes, it's been almost a decade, I think about 10 years.
Yeah. And so we are so glad that you're here. 10 years is a long time.
Yes.
It's enough for you to be an expert.
I believe so,
Yeah,
Reverend
so
Furi.
with the views that we're going to be hearing from you,
Yes.
we also are going to be hearing from a deep experience point of view. And also happy viewers to say that Dr. Njoki Chege comes to us from Aga Khan University and also from Roy PCA Church there. So Aga Khan Roy, you know, interesting connection there. But welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
And I think just to start us out, let's start with you, Njoki, Dr. Njoki. You've been in media for 10 years.
Yes.
And that's quite an industry when you think about it. And you still are there. What keeps you there?
First of all, thank you so much, Reverend Furi and Kirk TV, for having me here. This is a very important week, the Partnership Week, and just a small correction, I'm from PCA Canaan Church in Rai. But to your question, what keeps me in media? I think what keeps me in media is the promise of the future. The future of journalism and media in general is very bright. There's been a digital disruption that has defined the media industry, the news media industry for the past, let's say, 10 years. Particularly in the country, things have not been easy. We have experienced a decline in revenues, maybe from about 2013, 2014, thereabout. So it's been a steep decline. And we are seeing a significant disruption of the advertising business model that has been defining the news media industry for a very long time. So the digital media has caused us to rethink the business model. It has caused us to rethink how we do content. It has caused us to rethink how we even approach and engage with audiences. But the reason I say that there's a lot of promise in the media is that in as much as digital disruption is bringing a lot of chaos in the media, there's also a lot of opportunity, because for me, I see the opportunity in this challenge. There's an opportunity to interact and deeply engage with audiences at a much more nuanced level. There's an opportunity to do content that speaks to the audiences, that the audiences can actually resonate with, and that's why I'm very excited about the concept of Christian media, because then that gives us an opportunity to provide high quality content to Christians, particularly the viewers of Kirk TV. And also the other opportunity is in the business models and the revenues, and that's actually my background, and that's what I actually do on a day-to-day basis. So on three things: on content, on audiences, and business models. And it is that promise of hope for the future of journalism that keeps me in media.
Okay, got some technical expressions there, but we trust that as we go on with this program, we're going to unpack a lot of what you've said.
Yes.
And you've mentioned advertising as part of what also has been, in a way, an area that needs to be relooked. And I think the word you've used continuously has been disruption.
Yes.
And that's why we also bring you in, Douglas, and your experience in advertising. Yeah. And just for the sake of the viewer, you can also tell us about, different forms of advertising. All we know sometimes is what we see and consume, but maybe you don't know the concepts behind it. Maybe you can tell us something about, in simple way, different forms of advertising that you can talk about.
Okay, thank you. I think the first thing to do is to get to break down what advertising is. And as complicated as it would sound, advertising is simply showcasing your brand to your target consumers, or showcasing it, taking it out there so that whoever it is that you're targeting may get to know it, may get to understand it, may get to connect with it, may be able to get to know if at all it is for them or not for them, and if at all it is something that they will find value in, if it's something that is worth taking up. So there are many different, very diverse kinds of advertising mediums, and there's guerrilla marketing. Guerrilla marketing. There is so there is television.
Or maybe there's another like cheetah
ape or something like that. So
advertising.
So there is TV, there is radio, there is what's becoming the hugest form of advertising communication, which is digital inclined. We have got flyers, we've got all of that. We have got what's called below the line advertising or experiential marketing, which is what I get to, I get to run,
and just break down for us what below the line.
Below the line is print and interactive. So from my end, my line of below the line is then experiential marketing. This is face-to-face communication where we get to interact. And in fact, with then experiential marketing then gets to use your five senses. And as we engage with you, we want to tell you that we want you to engage, we want you to see, we want you to smell, we want you to hear, we want you to taste, you're touching it, and want to go the extra mile and involve our sixth sense, which is emotional connection. Therefore, it gives you drive to get to pick out. Whenever you do advertising, your aim is to leave people very clear, whether they are rejecting your product or if at all they have adored their product. If at all they've adopted it and they're adoring it, then you kind of have gotten what it is that you want to achieve. So we strive to make number twos number one.
Okay. I like that, making number twos number ones. Yeah. That's a good line. And Christian media, it's quite a category when you think about it. And maybe we want to, Dr. Njoki, just tell us about your understanding, given your experience in media, what comes across that can be bracketed as Christian media?
Okay, so I think Christian media is first and foremost value-based media. Media that ascribes and subscribes to a particular set of values. In this case, that is the Christian values. And Christian media is not just about informing the audiences on what is happening with the elections and all that and the presidential debates. It's also about providing uplifting content, content that also brings value to the lives of the audiences, content with meaning, content that, can turn around lives, content that nourishes the audiences, but based on a particular set of values. So Christian media could be owned by a denomination, it could be owned by a church, it could even be owned by an individual that specifically airs, publishes that kind of content. But I think the bottom line is this is content with meaning. It's meaningful. It has an impact, because the problem that we have right now, and it's a conversation that we're having in the industry, is that the negative news, or the trash news, the news that's not very valuable, is available for free. It's all over. There are all these websites that are offering news that you can't really, it doesn't add value to you. So this is a niche, and this is an opportunity, particularly in this country, for us to have Christian media that brings about content that changes the lives of people, content that leaves the audiences feeling very good. There are studies that have been conducted, particularly in Kenya, that show very high levels of news avoidance. Literally, people are avoiding TV, they're avoiding the newspapers, they don't want to watch news because it leaves them feeling depressed. There's too much news on COVID, there's too much news on politicians who insulted each other, exchanging epithets and very dangerous rhetoric. So people have avoided news for a while, and actually this is studies, research as recent as about maybe 2 weeks ago. But Christian media now comes to negate that and makes people want to interact with your content. People want to, even contribute to your content. So that's my understanding of Christian media. Yeah,
I think very clear, especially in terms of the content. It's value-based, and
yes,
and it sits well, especially with the kind of what you described as a freely available but
yes,
very chaotic kind of information.
Yes.
But there's a question for you, Douglas, because when you look at media today, a big aspect is it has to be sensational.
Yes.
Now, from what Dr. Njoki has told us, sounds to be more sensible. Now, between sensibility and sensationalism, do you think Christian media can sell? Is it sensational? Are people looking for sensational stuff, or sensible is like more adult kind of, older, a narrative? But is it sensational enough to sell?
Good question. Is it? Yes, it is. The question is if it is being done that way. Sensible means, sensational does not mean it's got to be gross, it's got to be dirty, it's got to be, but it must be something
but I would say the way we know it, sensational usually has to have a lot of, somebody has to, it has to have an aspect of drama.
Yes.
So it for somebody to retweet something, and for somebody to forward something, yes, for somebody to call a person, please watch this, has to be some drama.
It's got to be sensational. To sell, all media has got to be sensational. Unfortunately, as Dr. says, bad news sells. So everything that's going on, that's why it's, it's all terrible in the news highlights, this and this and this. You're saying, oh dear, so let me watch. However, the first thing to get to understand is why start that station in the first place? Who is your target? What do you want to achieve with it? Whatever station this is, isn't it? Who are you targeting? What is their lifestyle? What do they like doing? Nobody buys a TV, and forgive me if I cross the line here, but nobody is going to buy a radio, buy a TV to listen to Reverend Bully preaching. It is for purely...
You've just pierced my ego.
I said
you've just deflated me, Solely for... Anyway, that's okay.
It truly is for entertainment. All right. So everybody goes home to put their TV on to relax, put your feet up, and get entertained. So the question we need to ask is, are we entertaining? Not everything has really got to make sense, if you ask me. It doesn't have to make sense. Because Christian media is communication, is showcasing of production, is letting go of information that is Christ-centric. So it is not that it does not mean that it should not be entertaining. It does not mean that you cannot do a fashion show. It just depends on how long the skirt is going to be. But if you then become too sensible in it, it then tells me that watching Roadrunner is violent. There's a lot of accidents. There could be blood spillage. Is that Christian, not Christian? At what point do we draw the line? Is there any movie that is entertaining but has got... In fact, it probably does not even have to have a Christian theme to it. Because theme means moral of this movie was 1, 2, 3, 4. But is it clean?
Yeah.
Is it funny? You know? And it can be edited. If what's this fastest guy in Kenya now? Omanyala. If watching him run, it will not add value to your life. It is not sensible, but it is sensational. Have I answered you?
Yeah, well, you've just set up a good conversation, because you've asked a very interesting question when you said, how is the Christian media being done? I mean, because we talk about it's sensible and being sensational. And you agree, it seems, that being sensational is important. But is it being done that way? Which, again, is a question that I bring to Dr. Njoki, because you talk a lot about content. Content, I think you mentioned content many times, and we'll mention content many times in this program. But is it being done that way, between sensibility and being sensational? How is Christian media, from what you see, how is it being done?
I think we are not doing too bad, although there's a lot of room for improvement. What I've been seeing is this replaying of gospel music all the time. Well, they're actually very huge pods of time where there's just these videos that are playing all the time. But then they're interspersed with conversations, such as this. There are programs on health, for example, and there are programs like this that discuss highbrow issues, such as, the content in Christian media. However, I think that we need to do more. And before I say my point, I'd like to issue a disclaimer that high quality content does not come cheap. It doesn't matter whether it's, high quality news or that very entertaining program, like my colleague said here, it doesn't come cheap. So there's gonna be a very high level of investment when it comes to quality content. So if you compare, and I don't want to start making irresponsible comparisons, comparing Kirk TV to an international Christian TV, because we still have, a few more steps to go. But I think we need to, as Christians, as the audience of Kirk TV, we need to invest a lot more in high quality content, and particularly lifestyle content. Studies have shown time and again, not just in East Africa, but even across the world, and specifically even in Kenya, audiences are looking for lifestyle content. They want to understand, Christian parenting from a Kenyan perspective. They want to look up recipes. They want to switch on to Kirk TV and they see a really good banana bread recipe, or I don't know, your favorite githeri recipe, or something like that. They want to understand how to maintain a car. It's just the simple things in life that draw audiences close to you as the media. But what I have to say is that it's going to be a journey. There's got to be some level of investment, not just in the content, but also in talent. Who is creating this news, and also investment in strategy, which I think is also a conversation that we'll need to have later.
Okay.
Yeah.
You talked about investment,
Yeah.
and that doesn't come cheap.
Absolutely.
Which again brings us to a point of advertisers, that advertisers will bring their money to a place that has value. You know, sometimes when it comes to Christian media, one of the struggles is, what is the value? You know, what's the reach? And advertisers will not give charity contributions. They want to ask for the numbers. They ask, give us your viewership, give us your reach, give us your demographics, give us all that. And Christian media oftentimes is not quite mainstream, so that you don't have the big numbers, and if you don't have the big numbers, then you don't have the big budgets. You know. So my question to you, Douglas, is how do you balance that? How do you balance the fact that you don't have the big numbers, but you feel like you have valuable content? So how do you make an advertiser find value in Christian media?
How do you get an advertiser to find value in Christian media?
Yeah.
First of all, rightly said, the advertiser will come partner with you if you've got the right numbers. Okay?
And the numbers mean?
Audiences. All right? XXX number of audiences. And that's why stations are going to say, we are the largest station, or we are number this in terms of viewership. To be able to get traction, to be able to draw the numbers that you want to achieve, you need to consider the timing, what time you're showing, what it is. You need to find out what it is. First of all, again, who it is that you want to target within a certain time. Their socioeconomic class, if you allow me, or what it is that they do, therefore what their interests are, and therefore at this time, at this time we've got this majority of this kind of audience at home watching. So what is it that I will present that is going to keep them glued there? Okay? It's the same way that we've got readers who are avid readers, some who read novels for entertainment, others who just read journals, others who read biographies, others who read, those kind of things, because it's like she said, it's a very niche market. If you do not have the numbers that an advertiser wants at that particular time for a certain brand, then you've lost them. So what does the media house do? Make sure that you've got the content that gets to bring in. 2, get to reduce your costs to be able to have it come through. And I think by and large those are the two that are there.
Okay.
So we know that we want to appeal, and we're making an appeal to have our audiences get to come and support Kirk TV. We need to then get to know who it is that we want to target for what and what makes them happy. Remember that the consumer is spoiled for choice. 40% of viewers watch pay TV, and they'll only get into local stations because of what? The news, all right? Or because there's a certain service that is held, and I will attend church between 9 and 10:30. So I'll go for this service. The news comes at this time. There's a documentary that's happening that interested me, so I'm going to log into it. After that, you check out. And so therefore we are spoiled for choice. The digital world has checked in. Corporates are advertising online. And that's why when you put your phone on, there's always a pop-up that comes in. That's pretty, intrusive, very intrusive, but they know that you're watching that. Because we know that phones have actually become possibly fast space in our lives. And therefore, everybody is here. Therefore, they know that millions are here. So we need to up our game. We need to change the whole ball.
You know, I was just listening to a certain talk about a big corporate, an international, multinational that has moved away from advertising on TV.
Yes.
They've moved totally away from doing TV,
Yes.
and they're now doing other forms.
Yes.
But TV is out for them. I mean, which is quite interesting. And we'll talk about that as we go along and talk about the trends and especially the social media, digital media that you've talked about. But we'll get there because it's a huge disruption. But I want to stay with that question a little bit because it's important about the sustainability of Christian media houses. And I mean, Dr. Njoki, you deal a lot with audiences. And it's very important for us, you know, when we talk about Christian media, to know how to attract, to manage, to sustain, to keep our audience glued. I mean, how do you do that?
So I think the first thing that, attracts audiences obviously is content. If you have high quality content, then you're guaranteed that you will have the right audience, and then that audience is now going to attract even more advertisers, because advertising model is basically about the media selling the audiences to the advertisers. And that's why in media we say, if it's free, you're the product. If it's a newspaper that's being sold at 70 shillings, for example, or 50 shillings, the actual price of that newspaper, if we were to sell it to you at its actual price, it would probably be 300 shillings. But because there's an advertiser who has advertised in that newspaper, they sort of subsidize that price on behalf of the audience, and that's why it's available for you at maybe 60 shillings or 50 shillings. Now, when it comes to attracting audiences, content is key. But most importantly, it's how you engage with those audiences. Because in this era of digital media, audiences now do not necessarily need to come to your studio so that they can tell you how good or how bad your content is. They're on digital. So they will see something and they will tweet you and they will put it on Facebook and they will say, by the way, what you said is not true. I don't like that story. That's propaganda. Please pull it down. So it's about also engaging audiences, and that's why that's where the most media organizations, drop the ball, because they have the audiences, they have the eyeball, but they're not able to interact with those audiences. They're not able to engage with those audiences, and it is in that interaction that they also get feedback. So this is a two-way traffic. Initially, it was a one-way traffic. We are the media, we give you the content, you read it, take it or leave it, that's it. But now with digital media, it has democratized feedback. It has made it very open and very clear for audiences to come and tell you this is what we like and this is not what we like. So I think those two things by and large are how you can keep the audiences. And also something else, I think also the content creators, the people that you put on TV. I'll give you an interesting statistic. About 75% of Kenya's population is below the age of 35. The median age in Kenya is 20.1 years. When you look at East Africa, because this is a Presbyterian Church of East Africa, so I believe the mandate for Kirk TV goes beyond Kenya. At some point, we will now go to East Africa. When you go to Uganda, the median age in Uganda is 16. Literally, East Africa is a very youthful population. And when you go deeper, when you dig deeper, the below 24s are actually, I think they're probably about over 50% of this population. So what it means is that if you have any media strategy that does not put the young people at the heart of its strategy, it's bound to fail.
Wow.
May I build on that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
If you do not put the
young
youth
people at the center of it, it's bound to fail.
And what do they want?
Absolutely.
They want music. They want dance. They want, there's what they want. And it is achievable and it is available within the Christian context. Can we get hold of it? Yes, we can. Is it too expensive to get? Yes and no. We have got audiences. We've got people who are very loyal to Kirk TV. And that appeal to have them come on board and support us will make us get to better what it is we are providing. However, great content does not have to be necessarily too expensive. And I'll give you a scenario. Vitimbi, that we grew up with, isn't it? Jeffersons, different strokes, old things that we grew up, and you got nostalgia thinking about them.
Yeah.
So tell me, if they were non-Christian, or if they were clean to watch, isn't it? Are they fit for a Christian media station? If you were to get to air that every Tuesday evening at 6:30, there's a 30 minutes of different strokes that's coming, there's a 30-minute, that kind of thing. Do you think there's a certain target consumer that will be glued at that time? I think there will be. Do you think then that you will have some corporate coming in and getting to say, I know the people who are watching that station are this, and I want to risk putting my penny in there? They will, isn't it? Do you know why? Do you know why Nigerian soaps are the most popular in local stations when everybody has gone to work? Because the consumer of viewership is a certain category, okay? And therefore, the stations will have them because they'll glue them because it's a continuous story, and they'll have advertisements that are for that kind of category. So when they get their off day on Sunday morning, they will go and buy that product. Have you hit your target market? Yes. Is it the right target market? Have you gotten an audience and drawn them to become loyalists that you can target with that product, that brand? Yes, you will. Content?
Okay. I think the aspect of content is fundamental.
Yeah.
And now it's coming now to also the target. And Dr. you've talked about something really critical, that if the young people are not watching your programs, or if you're not targeting the young people, then you're bound to fail. Now that's really, it's a judgment. It's a sentence. Now let's now ask ourselves then, Christian media and youth, right? Because that seems those are the consumers now of media, whether it's TV, whether it's digital, all that. And now my question is, how is it then that a station like Kirk TV can have young people glued here? What issues do we engage? And not just what issues do we engage, how do we engage them? So that we become one of those stations then that is aligning, to this statistical reality, the science of the audiences.
Thank you. So I think, first of all, we are carrying out a study at Aga Khan University to understand how young East Africans are consuming news. And the data that we are receiving is very interesting. Contrary to popular belief that young people just enjoy music and dance and entertainment, they want to know which celebrity did what. Young people are actually very interested in news. They're very interested in issues of governance. They want to know about politics. They want to understand the economy. They want to understand international news. They want to know what's happening in the US and all that. And it's for a very simple reason, because they want to appear smart in front of their friends. So that's a very interesting motivation, that young people now, we are moving to an era where we need to now start
I've
creating.
just thought about a tagline, Kirk TV, be smart.
But that's it. There you go. Absolutely.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. And I think what's important is for us to now start presenting that news and those issues in a way that appeals to young people. So we have some innovators that we are supporting at the Aga Khan University, and they're doing exactly this. So they are taking very serious issues on governance, on corruption, on politics, on national leadership, and unpacking them specifically for the youth audience. And how they're doing it, they're telling the young people, this is how it's going to impact you. So this has happened in Kenya. This is how the economy is doing. This is how it's going to impact you as a young person. So I think the first thing that we need to do is to start getting, is to get young people to start watching Kirk TV. And how we do that is to ensure that we present the news and information in a way that tags their heartstrings. And eventually, in a way that is going to tag their purse strings, in a way that they are going to pay for Kirk TV. I mean, this is the audience that pays for Netflix. Do you know there are young people who sort of co-pay for Netflix? They're like, I don't know how much Netflix is, maybe let's say 1,500. So each one of them contributes maybe 300 shillings to have one Netflix account. So this is the generation that is actually paying for content. They're paying for Netflix, they're paying for Spotify, for music, they're paying for so many, they're paying for Showmax, so many other content things. And if you can get them hooked and interested in not just the entertainment, but also the issues that matter to them, and also bring them on TV. Young people like to see themselves. They like to see other young people, talking about issues. They like to see, and I'm so glad that Kirk TV has has this battalion of young presenters and journalists, and that's a really good thing. But we need to take this argument to the next level and package that news in a way that young people are going to unpack it.
There's a word that is very, very key to the youth. Aspirational. They're very aspirational. They look at you in your nice blue suit. They want one that's better than that. They want to drive. They're very aspirational. And they've got big dreams. I work at an agency called Swivel Marketing, doing BTL, and we do interactive communication. And so for that, we are forced to get to understand what the youth want, where they shall be found, what their preferences are when you're going with a certain brand or product to them. On the other side, from my serving church, I am the youth patron at the Church of the Torch. A bit fossilized I am, but I am the youth patron. And they are dynamic. They are high energy, high energy, great ideas. They are very, we think they are rebellious, but we are boring. They do not want us in our suits and ties and white shoes and all that. They want to listen to you when you've got your shirt intact, when you have a stubble, when, that kind of thing. And so, as she says, news, because they want to be, they want to have everything at the tip of their fingers, and that's why they've got their phones, because the world is here. The world is now at your palm, in fact. So what it is that we're going to do is identify what they want and bring it to them in front of their screens. But the other thing is this. They're always also doing a lot of research. There's a lot of hard work that they do on those phones because study is online and all of that. What are the things that are ailing our youth today? What are the issues that are ailing them? We could get all the elder dagi, go and pull them all together and talk to them about it, or bring them here and have a conversation that is pretty interactive, and they'll be glued here getting to know that we've got a young, savvy guy like you who's just dealing that whole vibe with them every certain day of the week.
You just made some young people very happy, just from your conversation, from your expression. Some young people right now are saying, way to go.
I hope so, I hope so, I truly hope so, yes.
Let's just, I know that we are about to take a short break, but let me ask you, Dr. Harry, because media also is not just supposed to respond to young people. It's supposed to move beyond that and begin to inform them. Right? So we have to move away from above. Yes, respond to their questions, but begin also to create new worlds in line of their aspirations.
Inform and influence.
All right. Great words. But how do we do that? How do we now move from the point of, yes, they are now with us. We're not just answering their questions. We now begin to form their worlds.
Absolutely. And that's why I was talking about lifestyle content. Because now this speaks to issues of life. Young people are actually also interested in, self-help and personal development, because those are some of the things that matter to them. I used to work at a careers magazine in my previous life at one of the, media organizations. And the one thing that young people really used to appreciate is that we used to give them solid and practical career advice. We would bring their mentors to speak to them. We would interview their future bosses. We would bring people who would give them some really good, even HR advice. I'm trying to resign from my job. Please help me, draft a good resignation letter. That kind of, practical information. And that is what young people like. Young people do not, like theories. They don't like this, this abstract stuff, that they can't see or can't touch. So they like stuff that is practical. They like stuff that speaks to their everyday life. And also, like my colleague says, they also like stuff that is aspirational. Young people are so full of hope. They know that there's going to be a better tomorrow, at least most of them. So you have to show them that life, particularly even as a Christian station, because I feel like we are losing a critical mass of these young people to other news organizations, media organizations that really do not add so much value to them, or even ask them to pay and you don't really see the value. But if we can make Kirk TV and the content, just generally Christian media, if we can make it resonate with young people, then I think we will have cracked the code.
All right. Quite an interesting conversation there that all ends up with the young people. And we'll take a short break. And I mean, viewer, when we come back, we'll be engaging, more questions. For instance, how come that you start a Christian media house, you expect Christians to support you, but they don't. They just don't.
Right.
And also we ask ourselves, I mean, there's a traditional media as we know it, but there's now, as we mentioned here, digital media. You find that people who are watching maybe this station right now, more are watching it,
online,
or digitally online, than are actually on a TV set.
That's right.
So, I mean, these dynamics, and again, it's a very informative conversation. This is Kirk TV, and we are talking about supporting Kirk TV throughout these weeks so that these particular things I'm talking about here can actually become a reality. And we want you to remain right there. Great conversation coming up. This is Kirk TV again. We'll be right back. Taking a short break. Okay.
Health, mental, physical, and of course, spiritual. Healthy Monday with me, Aida Munzati. Kwani kwa pamoja, afya yetu ni muhimu.
Wednesday, we examine your readiness for the forthcoming general elections as a voter. Join me, Dennis Munene, as we put every matter into context. Kumbuka, kura yako ni haki yako.
Health, mental, physical, and of course, spiritual. Healthy Monday with me, Aida Muzati. Kwani kwa pamoja, afya yetu ni muhimu.
Pay for your tithes and offerings, PAP, using Family Bank's USSD solution for church collection, Kanisa PAP. All you have to do is register and pay. To register, dial code *325*5#. Accept the terms and conditions. Enter your first and second name. Then your church's 4-digit code and church name. Confirm your registration and you're ready to contribute. To contribute, dial *325*5#. Select your type of offering. Enter the amount you want to contribute. Once done, confirm the amount. You'll get an M-Pesa PIN prompt. Enter your PIN and you're done. You will receive an SMS confirmation from Family Bank. Isn't that easy? Try Kanisa PAP today.
Creating awareness and informing you is our duty.
Law is order, and good law is good order.
And just because you are not sick, it doesn't mean you're healthy.
Kama mchwa, bidii yako, mali yako.
A happier family is but an earlier heaven.
I support Kirk TV. Tujenge Kirk TV.
On Legal Thursday, join me, Chris Sambo, as we talk on matters to do with law, justice, and legal affairs. From family laws, commercial laws, and copyright laws, we shall put the legal perspective together. We build a lawful nation.
Since family means no one is left out, join me, Faith Kaulu, on Family Saturday, where everyone will have something. Remember, family is not only important, it's everything. So let's do this together.
Ilivyo kawaida ya siku ya Jumanne ni siku ya biashara. Mimi wako Vincent Kirosi, mpishi mpakuzi. Nitakuwa na biashara nawe tangu macheo hadi machweo. Tutapiga kazi, tujenge mali na siwajua tena mdau. Kimchango kuchangizana bana.
Again, welcome back to this great conversation around Christian media. amazing insights. This is the Kirk TV Partnership Week, and Kirk TV invites you to partner with this station in so many kinds of ways that we'll be learning throughout this week, because this is a great platform for you to host conversations, a great platform for you to propagate your information, and therefore we also invite you in form of support, any kind of support that you're inspired to give. We are welcoming it. This is Kirk TV Partnership Week, and talking about Christian media here, great conversationalist here. We have with us Douglas Nyoro, who is in advertising. We have with us also Dr. Njoki Chege, who is also in media expert actually, and great conversations, you know, and I mean, very enlightening. And I mean, young people are happy that we are saying that we need to know their questions and answer their questions through these media spaces. And that's a very great light for us. And as we stay with that, because we talk about that quite a little bit, the question that we asked, and I'll come to you, Dr. I mean, how come that you start a Christian media station, for instance, a Presbyterian station, and you expect the Christians, now a subset of Presbyterians, millions of them, you expect them to follow you here, but they don't come, and if they do, they are tourists. They come and go. I mean, how do you address that dynamic?
So I think, well, that's an interesting question. But I think it's because maybe we are yet to show the value. Christians, at the end of the day, are human. And very rarely will people support something that they are struggling to see the value. So first of all, we need to demonstrate. And the onus is us as Kirk TV. We need to demonstrate the value that we bring to the table with Kirk TV, because we are living in times where Christians, generally audiences, are dealing with so much. You know, there's so many TV stations, there's a lot of things that are taking up their attention. So we are fighting, you know, we are fighting for the attention with Facebook. We are fighting for the attention with other TV stations. And other things. People have lives, people have families and businesses to run and careers to run. So I think we need to demonstrate the value. And then secondly, we also need to make this a co-creative process. People tend to contribute to things that they feel ownership with. So if Christians feel that this is their church and, you know, they have, you know, participated in the process of creating this, whether it's through content or even through stories, if they see themselves, if we tell their stories enough, then they're more likely to contribute for this. So I think those two things generally, because at the end of the day, Christians are humans, you know, and I'm going to give you an analogy. When we want Christians to contribute for the building of a church, we are going to sell it to them, and we're going to tell them, look, we don't receive help from anyone from outside. It's only we are the only ones who can do this. So I think it's also the way we sell it. It's also the value that we show, that if we don't build our own Christian media, then nobody else is going to do it for us. But most importantly, they need to see themselves as part of Kirk TV. Okay. As at now, I don't think Christians are yet to feel the ownership of Christian media, and we need to get there. Which is quite a critical question, that, because it carries weight directly with the future of Christian media. Because if a Christian media house is not able to significantly interest the Christians, I mean, and we want to have a future. Douglas, maybe you can tell us about, from your imagination, from your experience, how do we captivate, or how do we capture this Christian niche? Because it's huge. It's a huge niche. Yes. But how do we capture it? How do we you know, like, have them here where they're being identity, they are Christians, but they are not quite here. They're not with us. How do you engage that niche?
By getting to find out why they are not. there's a station, it's a Christian station, we expect them to come en masse. They probably actually do, but then they start waning out a bit. They start waning and there's an exodus. And so every once in a while they'll flip through stations to just check what's going on there. But I think if we were to be candid with each other, the truth answer is that they'll get fatigued. It's fatigue. I am clearly not using the word boring, I'm using fatigue.
Even boring is fine.
Because of this reason.
Yeah.
I am Christian. I am born again. I went to 2 services today. I attended a funeral fellowship service. How much will I get to sit awake and listen to some guy come and preach to me? Okay? So it will fatigue me. Christian as I am, I have a life, as she said. But I'm putting it blunt. I have a life and everyone needs a break. So break it, man. You've got this guy, you've got Reverend Buri, then you've got Njoki coming, then you've got Dagi, then you've got somebody else and comes back again. So give me something that will wake me up. Give me something. And let me tell you what. There's a lot of conversation around politics right now, for example. Who is not listening to politics? Who is not following it? What's going to make it not right? To just have someone come and speak to us and tell us about it. It is part of entertainment. I will not vote for you because you tell me some plants can make ugali. All right? But I will get very amused. In fact, tell me that this guy is going to come in and will be on screen. Oh, I will be there. I will be glued because I'm getting entertained. And I'll be saying, in fact, it will create talkability. You want to create talkability. Did you listen? Did you hear? I missed it. Oh, no. There will be a repeat on this day. You'll have people there. They said that next week, this is what they're going to be discussing. It will be there. But then we are Christian, but you don't walk with a billboard saying I'm born again. Isn't it? So it's just that break that will be there. So what do we need to do? We need to understand what their pains are. We need to understand what their areas of comfort are, and we need to address them. We have got so many things that are going out there. Within the Christian context, are drugs present? Are they a pain? Yes, they are. Goats and this story of boozy and this kind of thing, is it an issue? Yes. I am Presbyterian, my mother is from the Women's Guild, my wife is in the Women's Guild, Do we think that there is something about the Women's Guild that needs to be addressed? Maybe. Let's bring it in, isn't it? And you want to have somebody from the Women's Guild come and sit there, and somebody who says, I am too young for it. That will be an interesting conversation. And let's just have that later. So, it is Christian. We'll even have something that's happening then, and then let's do that. Yeah, okay.
I'm asking myself, because what we're saying in terms of content, and you've just told me, and you've repeated, to my discomfort, that people will not tune into Kirk TV to watch me preach. I mean, I'm very uncomfortable about that, but it's a reality. You just mentioned
we must stop getting out of the box and ban the box.
Which now is the point, because, Dr. how do we create cutting-edge television? How do we create cutting-edge content? Whereas, as a church sometimes we are bound. Their boundaries are too quick, But how do we, within these boundaries, develop still cutting-edge content? Because it seems we have to be cutting-edge for us to position ourselves rightly.
I think we must not be afraid to experiment. And we also must not be afraid to fail. But having said that, I understand that there are some boundaries within which we must operate. And generally the church in its nature is very conservative. But I think even in that conservative nature, we can still excite our audiences. Because the one thing that it appears that Christian media seem to forget is that their audiences, beyond being Christians, they're also moms, they're also fathers, they're also young people like myself. So people are struggling with so many things and they have different needs. In the same way, I mean, most Christians, yeah, the average Christian, the average Presbyterian, does not spend the entire day reading the Bible and praying and all that. They have to go to work. They have to raise children. You know, they have to do their businesses. They go out there and interact with people. A lot of them work in the corporate world. So we also need to be alive to the needs of the people. We need to know the people that we are talking to. Yes, on Sunday we will see them in church, but on Monday they face a different set of problems. And we need to address those problems. Today you are in church, you had a different set of concerns. Tomorrow you're going to be running your M-Pesa business or your salon or your salon and or your supermarket, sorry, and you have different issues. So how does Kirk TV, how does Christian media come in and intervene? So we need to design interventions for our audiences across different facets of life, whether it's parenting, because people in church are struggling with their teenagers. They're struggling with their teenagers who have taken up drugs, who are, staying out of school. These are some of the real issues that as Christian media, sometimes we don't seem to be addressing. We have mothers in church who are struggling with getting their husbands to come to church or even their children to stay in church. I mean, these are real issues because we live in the real world. So I kind of feel like Christian media is not living in the real world. We are just confined within church and we are not reaching out to tell them, look, we will be here on Sunday to broadcast the moderator giving his address, but we will also be there for you on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, and especially on Friday and Saturday when you have some free time and you need to consume media. So it will not hurt for us as Christian media to have some entertainment content. It's not going to hurt for us to start addressing societal issues that sometimes they might rub some people the wrong way, but that is how change happens. Change is not popular, and addressing some of these issues, we must be cognizant of the fact that we will attract a lot of criticism. We will attract people who will be like, this is a Christian media. Whenever, anytime I log in or anytime I view you, I should see a pastor, I should see Pastor Furi saying hallelujah, praise Jesus. But that is not the reality of life, because sometimes I feel like Christian media does not reflect the reality of the audiences of the flock. So we sort of just, hide behind the Bible and Christianity, but then we don't come out very clearly. So we also need to be very brave and very courageous to start moving into these territories that we haven't moved into. And trust me, the audience is going to appreciate it. The audience will pay us the greatest compliment. And the only compliment they will pay us is if they start watching and telling us, good job.
Okay. As you're talking about that, I'm realizing that as much as Christianity has very quick boundaries around it, that it has a capacity to have real cutting-edge responses still.
Absolutely.
Because I was watching just a short video of a particular pastor, but he was not necessarily talking the day-to-day, but message. He was responding to the story about how cannabis sativa should be, legalized. He was talking about how bad that is, and he gave some really radical response. And it seems that people like those radical responses. You may not agree with it necessarily, but he gives a really radical response. And you can tell from the response of the people, the video went viral, because these are pastors who has come so clear. I mean, and you're like, hey, this is really cutting edge, right? And again, which, it's very important here, Douglas, because this is inviting us to a very intense form of dynamism, you know, because to be cutting edge, it means you're where people are, and in the way that they want you to be there, in the way that you can reach them.
Yes.
And how does now Christian media incorporate this aspect of dynamism in terms of content and in terms of form?
I was about to say simple, but not too simple. But first of all, getting out of comfort zone. We must get out of the comfort zone of the confines of Christianity and walking in the light. Because, all right, Presbyterianism is about, what do we say? Reformed, always reforming. So the world is changing. So what do? Get out of our comfort zone, go out there, find out that Matatu Makanga, and find out what his life is like, and get to have a story, and say a day in the life of this dude. And this dude gets harassed, this dude gets changed, sijui haipatikani, all of that. But we get to agree about that hidden camera. It becomes a documentary of sorts. It becomes a small movie of sorts, which is agreed at a certain fee, and it works for them. We want to understand about this Mama Mboga who cannot even go to church because she says she confesses her belief and her faith, but she's got to be in Marigiti at 4 a.m. She's got to do 1, 2, 3, 4 things, and we are getting out, and the gospel is going out there, and we are going to talk to them in real. We need to get into their real lives, become real with them, address their real life scenarios and issues, and then get to have a conversation around them. We want to have them come and sit. People in the screens, in their sitting rooms, must feel that we know them, we understand them, and we are talking to them. Years ago when we were growing up, there's a guy who's a friend of mine, and then he would go and say, wewe baba hapo, na mama hapo, na mtoto hapo, and you would actually do this to check if the guy is going to follow you. It felt that this guy actually knew you and was looking at you and got to identify with you. So we need to do things.
Must have been a real dark man.
So there you
I
are.
know him.
Yes. So we need to understand.
I think his name is Fred.
Yes, he's a good old Fred. So we've got to identify our consumer, identify with their lifestyles, get to their level, whether it is straight on, whether it is below or it is above, and bring that reality.
Okay. And I think that question of dynamism is important, and I would bring it again to you, Dr. Harry, here, because dynamism takes many forms. Content, we've talked about that, but also platforms. The platforms that these messages are on. You know, before COVID, as far as the church was concerned, Facebook belonged to young people. You know, TikTok belonged to, you know, I mean, it belonged out there. But all of a sudden, now, if you go on Sunday and you just look at Facebook or YouTube, the number of preachers you find are so many because we were moved into those platforms. And maybe you can tell us about dynamism in that form when it comes to platforms. Because if our viewers are young people, where are they? You know, are they watching traditional TV? Or are they on YouTube? Are they on TikTok? Where are they? And because we want to reach them,
yes,
there has to be a dynamism in that direction of platforms as well. Maybe you can talk to that.
Yeah, so I think COVID did a lot of things for the media, and particularly Christian media. Because there's actually, you know, somebody who said that before COVID, many pastors used to think, you know, Facebook is the devil. And then after COVID, all the pastors are on Facebook because that's where your people are. But now to your question of dynamism, I think it's important that Christian media fully and unequivocally embrace digital media. There's no two ways about it. I mean, this is it. I mean, if I can, because right now, they're struggling with, you know, there's the traditional media, you know, the TV and all that, but then they're also struggling with digital. You don't see them so much on digital, at least for the ones that we are concerned about. And this is a challenge, because if you're talking to the young people and you are only on TV, you're predominantly on TV, you're losing them. The age of appointment viewing is gone. Way back when, in maybe 10, 15 years ago, I would know that it's 6:30 and this is my show. I have to be in front of the telly at 6:30. Yeah. These days, it doesn't matter. I can watch it at 8 p.m., at 9 p.m. I can even still watch it at 6:30 on my phone in traffic, and I'm not going to miss anything. Because that's actually how most people watch the mainstream media. They don't need to have TV. They'll just go to their phones, they go to YouTube, they type Kirk TV live, and then they see you. So which means that being on digital media, it's not a question of should we be, it's how should we approach it. Yeah.
All right, so we're in a zone whereby a media station must be on multiple platforms.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. You cannot, and you have to be intensely on each. Not you have to invest.
And very intentional. Because the strategy that we are seeing, rather the lack of strategy that we are seeing, is that what is on TV, the traditional TV, is now copy-pasted and put online. But that's not how you do it. How you do it is to make sure that you understand that your audience on TV, the traditional TV, is completely different from your digital audience. The audience on TV is probably going to be your 70 or 60-year-old elder with, digital problems. But your digital audience is going to be much more, younger and savvier, and somebody who, is with it. So you need to purpose and repurpose content based on that platform. Okay. So what's on Facebook should be completely different from what we are seeing on traditional TV. And that's how you manage this multi-platform publishing.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was very, very technical, but at the same time, very accessible.
Yeah.
Very totally accessible, that you have to, what's on TV should not copy-paste it to what's on the digital platforms. Those are different platforms that require different content, different modes, and that's very enlightening. And one of the challenges we find, because there's so much going on, the area of media is just flooded with so many players in there. And so we find an issue of loyalty, that you could have particular people for a particular season, but after some time they've moved on and they are free. I think you call it democratization, or something like people can move. Yes. They're no longer arrested. So you can't assume that Presbyterians are with you. You can't assume that Christians are with you. That loyalty does not come from the denominational place. It comes from maybe a content place, to a place where are you moving? I mean, how are you moving me? And how are you answering my questions? How are you helping my life? The practicality you talked about. And so the question now again is, how do you move? How do you maintain loyalty in terms of viewership, or in terms of the people who are following your station in the midst of a lot of dynamism? How do you do that?
Same old. Know them. Understand who they are. Identify what they want. In fact, interact with them. We've got the advantage of having possibly the hugest congregation within the region. We've got the advantage of getting to have access to these audiences, and we're able to ask them, hey, what do you think? What do you want to see? What times are convenient for you? Who is it that you want? What discussions do you want us to have? First of all, it gives them recognition. They feel recognized. They feel important. They feel involved. They'll take ownership. So even as we go to them and tell them, hey, we will do this for you. This is what I want you to do for me. We'll start working together.
Okay. And I think some real questions there, because what we really are talking about, it's not just the present, but the future of Christian media. And you being in research quite a bit and being interacting a lot with data and forecasts, in a laboratory most of the times, in a laboratory setting, innovation setting, I know that you have some insights concerning the future of Christian media. How would you assess that?
So let me start by saying that the future is actually quite bright for Christian media, because this is the time, if you're going to start a Christian media, then this is actually the opportune time to start. So there are several things that I would like us to maybe think about as we discuss the future of Christian media. The first is platforms. So we're used to having radio and TV, traditional platforms and all that. That's gonna change. So now we'll need to move to digital, and we'll need to be able to compete with other media organizations that are not particularly Christian or value-based. And we need to be aware that, like you said, the audiences will not be loyal. Today they will be with you, tomorrow they'll find something else interesting, and we've got to be very comfortable with that. The second thing I think we need to discuss, and it's very critical, is the business model. Because the media, first and foremost, is a business. I know it's a ministry, but we also need to think about the business and the sustainability aspect of Christian media. How are we going to keep the lights on? How are we going to pay salaries? That's very critical. So what are some of the business models that we might be thinking about? So we are talking today about partnerships, which is great. It's amazing, because now we are putting this in the hands of the audiences and telling them, look, things are tough, can you help? But even as we ask them for that, we also need to give them something to work with. We need to show them that this is the effort that we have made. Can you please come and help us? So partnerships is king. And I'm not just talking about Christian media. I'm not talking from the perspective of Christian media. I'm saying that this is something that has even worked in the so-called mainstream media. Mainstream media these days are, basically not just running on advertising, but also running on partnerships. They're getting into content partnerships with advertisers. So now they're moving advertising into the next level, not to get too technical, but into areas called native advertising, where we get into a partnership with an advertiser and we actually do their story. It looks like journalism, but we very clearly tell you this is not journalism, this is the advertiser's story. And then also we also need to figure out how to monetize the audiences, which is quite a difficult task, especially in digital media, where the key platforms, the Googles and the Facebooks of this world, are taking up almost 75% of the revenue. So we need to think about how do we monetize this digital. So we also need to think about data. It's very important. They say that these days that data is the oil of the 21st century. Because if I have your data, if I know what you like, then I'm able to tailor-make your experience specifically for you, Reverend Furi. So we also need to be very comfortable with numbers. We need to understand our audiences. We need to know we are being watched from Lodwar, but people of Lodwar, these are their issues, and so we have that specific content for people in Lodwar, and that's where digital media comes in. So I think the future is very bright, but we also need to be very strategic. Let's not do everything, and let's not do something because we saw it being done somewhere and it's working. Let's look inward, figure out what are our pain points, what are our strengths, what are the opportunities, and even what are our weaknesses. What is it that we don't do well? Whatever that we don't do well, let's just put it aside for now and focus on our strengths. So I think there's need for serious strategy, especially in Christian media. We need to really think about, when we say we are putting this program on TV, we really need to put a lot of thought around it and figure out what is going to be the return on investment. Because I know this is a ministry, but at the end of the day, we have people we have employed, we have bills to pay, and we've got to figure out how to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And usually the advertisers, the money will follow value.
It will follow.
So there has to be a valuable service that we are offering.
Yeah, we've got to give them something to work with. It just doesn't make sense for us to say, yes, here we are Kirk TV advertisers, please come to us. They're going to ask you the hard questions.
Okay.
Because the advertiser needs to see value for his shilling. They need to know if they give you 1 shilling, how much advertising value they're getting from you.
And if they don't get value, they will not be back.
They will not touch with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, Douglas, your final words in a short way.
Christian media can be exciting, is relevant to XX%, but there is work that can be done to build it up, to create relevance, to create that sensation, to create that sensibility. A think tank that would get to sit and work it out. And innovators, innovation is really being creative and thinking ahead of the game, and just getting to just be ahead of them and being ahead of them, and getting to just give them that drive and that energy. It is possible, it can be done.
All right.
As Kirk TV, we know this is the direction that we are taking. It will cost money, and so the appeal then would be for audiences to come and support it, but we've got to have things that are measurably, that are tangible. Let's have content that is great. Let us start building our audiences, and we'll be able to walk into sponsors and tell them, these are the numbers that we've got. We expect them to build by this and this and this. These numbers by this period because of 1, 2, 3, 4. So come on board and let us work this together.
Okay. Now, amazing conversation. And we look forward to a remodeled Kirk TV.
Yes, and let's sit here.
Progressive Kirk TV. So that all these things that we have talked about will be reflected here. This far we're doing fine, but there's still a journey that we are on, and we hope to see more. And I'm sure the viewers, we've just whetted their appetite in terms of expectations going forward. And I love the fact that there is a future. Christian media has a future. We just need to strategize and re-strategize and innovate continually. And I want to thank you so much, Douglas, for your participation and for your insights in this program. Also appreciate you, Dr. Njoki, for your immense knowledge and insights that you have also shared with the audiences here. And I'm sure that all of us who've been watching this conversation have been enlightened and also have been inspired, and to know that Kirk TV is growing. Kirk TV is moving to higher levels. Kirk TV is not stalling. Kirk TV is going on up. This is the partnership week, and continue supporting this station in as many ways as possible, because Kirk TV is growing. Watch this space. And I was just trying to think about this conversation here, viewer, and how can I summarize it? So much content, great insights, but I can say, 4 simple things. That the sermon is not the core. I can also say youth are the center. I can also say that competition is intense, and dynamism is compulsory. This is Kirk TV. Thank you for watching. God bless you.